Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of Angry British Rants, the podcast type thing where I ramble about stuff that makes me angry. And today I have a guest, my good friend George.
Hey, bet you've never seen me in any of these videos before.
You've never turned up on this channel before.
Not once.
Never. Absolutely never. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that George has chosen.
Hello. Yes, that is me. I have chosen this.
Yeah, and the subject is video games causes violence.
Yeah, boy.
Because George you're doing game design in university, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So obviously people complaining about video games causing violence directly impacts your...
It's putting me out of the business.
Yeah.
This is shit I'm learning to do.
And obviously it's completely untrue.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you really wanted to go into heavy details of stuff, how long have video games really been around for? 50 years at most? I don't know when Pong first came out.
If I could find my industry notes book, I'd be able to tell you.
Pong, hang on, I've got Google open. Let's search it.
That's probably a good idea.
It was released in 1972. Wow, I actually thought it was earlier than that. But that's what,
45
almost
years?
50 years ago.
Yeah. 47, not 45. Good away.
Then you've also got to consider the fact that both World War One and World War Two happened before Pong was released. And also, the Crusades and everything throughout recorded history that was very obviously far more violent than it is now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's stupid.
It is very much stupid.
End of podcast.
Solved.
So, what news have you seen on video games causing violence recently?
Recently, not a whole lot. Nothing, because I don't really look at news as much as I should.
That's
but
a mood.
Yeah, not much. But it's just obviously with the whole stuff, mainly in America, when Trump's got to ban the video games because they're making people violent. That was a terrible Trump impression. That sounded more like Danny DeVito. But yeah, it's just there's no proof that it does. In fact, I think there has been it's been disproven that this is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been more stuff against video games causing violence than stuff that they do cause it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
much like with a favourite of your channel, how vaccines cause autism, but we're not going to go there.
That's another podcast. I'm doing a Google. I looked up video games cause violence because I'm wondering what news reports there might have been recently. And do you want to know one of the first things that came up?
Trump something.
Nope. Playing video games does not make you a mass shooter, expert says.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why they're the expert.
Exactly. During a speech on Monday addressing the recent mass shootings in El Paso. Oh, this isn't that recent then, because El Paso was a little while ago now.
Just little.
In Dayton, President Trump called for an end to or substantial reduction of the glorification of violence in gruesome and grisly video game culture. While some are quick to blame video games for real-life acts of violence, experts say there is no such link. So basically, Trump just has no idea what he's talking about but that's nothing new, really, is it?
Yeah. That's what's new?
It's because Trump also said stuff about all of these kids doing all these shootings and stuff have history with mental health issues and all of that stuff. And that's not true either. More often than not, they don't have mental illness. Yeah. It's so strange that Trump really thinks he knows a lot about stuff that he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah. It's like,
Trump is just the worst. This could become a whole podcast of just talking about Trump.
yeah, but let's not go there. Let's not talk major politics.
What else does it say in this news report? When it comes to actual serious criminal violence, there's virtually no evidence that video games matter. James Ivory, professor and research director at Virginia Tech, told CBS News. See, this guy is an actual professor in research, and he's saying that it doesn't make a difference, and there's Trump going, no, I'm a genius.
I mean, he
Fake
is. Have you
news.
seen the man?
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like an example that's given a lot is like we play stuff like Rainbow Six and all that kind of thing. You play For Honor. It's like, if that stuff apparently makes us violent, why doesn't, like, for example, Fire Emblem make us great tacticians and Professor Layton make us great geniuses?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or Stardew Valley make us know how to run a farm efficiently.
There's a graph. I don't know if I'll ever be able to find it. I'm gonna have to search for it now. I think it was in a Nerd Cubed news video a while ago, but I'm not sure. But there was basically a graph, and it was a one color was the amount the video games have been played, and obviously this was going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And then the other color was recorded violent crimes, and it was going down and down and down and down and down. So they like completely did not correlate. Hang on, I need to see if I can find this graph now.
It's like people want a scapegoat. People always want something to blame. It's like it's the easiest thing to go, oh, these video games, they're making our kids violent.
Yeah. Humans always need demons. Just as they always need, like, a reason to exist. They need demons to blame for the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not fun. Like,
I feel like limiting these podcasts to one subject is like a huge limit for how fast this is going to progress.
Yeah.
I feel like digression and going off topic is something we need to welcome in these podcasts.
Yeah. Definitely. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Right.
Also,
now,
one thing about we gotta ban the video games is it kind of ties into what I'm doing at uni and what we've already discussed. That people who make these, it's their job. It's how they make a living. It's like banning video games is literally putting people out of jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, and people say, "Oh, we don't have enough. People are taking our jobs." It's like the games industry is literally the biggest media industry in the world. It's like, and if you get rid of that, then you're putting loads of people out of jobs, and you, like I said, you're getting rid of the biggest. The games industry makes more money than all other media combined. It's like you're losing out on that much income and that much job revenue and all that kind of thing. It's like,
and on top of that, I was gonna say something and then it completely went out of my mind.
No.
What was I gonna say? Oh, people have such a warped view on it, as shown by Walmart, that removed loads of violent video games from their shelves and wouldn't put them on display. But right next to the video game aisle, they had a broad selection of firearms on display, but they didn't take those down. Guns are fine to have. Real guns are fine to have on display.
My Second Amendment rights.
Exactly. Real guns, fine. Yeah, you're allowed to have real guns. If you want to shoot up a school, that's your right. But video games, no.
No, none with the video games.
It's such a... We live in such a weird dystopian future at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of worrying.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it genuinely is. Like, loads of people, like, we keep on going back to this, but loads of people in the industry. It's not fun.
Mm-hmm. It's because our country, both England and America, and probably other places as well, are completely led and ruled by people with such a warped worldview.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Boris Johnson or David Cameron or Theresa May or any of the past prime ministers we've had in like the past 10 years, none of them have any idea what it's like to live in the lower class or middle class. They have no idea what it's actually like around real people. So they're just spoon-fed numbers and they go, oh, clearly these numbers mean that this is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do the thing that makes them the most money at the end of it.
Yeah. It is very bad.
I still haven't found this graph. I might give up.
Oof.
Although, looking at this, it has reminded me of another subject. I think I've touched upon this in one of my other videos, not in a podcast, though. That's about, Rockstar Games. You must know Rockstar.
Yeah, GTA.
Yeah, everyone knows who Rockstar is at this point. Rockstar North, specifically. I think that's just the name of the company. But they're an English-based company. I can't remember where in England, like Surrey or something.
I don't think... Is it England or is it Scotland? Because I know there is a Rockstar studio in Scotland.
Rockstar Games. Because I'm pretty sure there is somewhere in England. Well, apparently Rockstar Games Inc. is an American video game publisher based in New York City. So that should mean that everything I'm about to talk about shouldn't exist, but does. And it's the fact that Rockstar, I think it might just be Rockstar North, so I'm going to have to look them up. But did you hear about them getting millions of pounds in tax relief?
Yes, I did. I heard about it briefly.
Rockstar North. Rockstar North Limited is a British video games company developed and a studio of Rockstar Games based in Edinburgh, Scotland. There you go. Although they do have one in England, I'm pretty sure, because one of the GTA games has a Easter egg that you can go to the city it is based in, and it was somewhere weird like Surrey. But it's so ridiculous that just because they get to call themselves English means that not only do they not have to pay tax in the making of their money, they got a lot of money in tax relief, which meant that English taxpayers are paying for the production of GTA. Let me find some exact stats. The Guardian. Oh, this is going to be great, isn't it? Everybody trusts The Guardian.
Not biased at all.
Grand Theft Auto maker has paid no corporation tax in 10 years. Rockstar North made huge profits while claiming £42 million in tax relief, says Think Tank. Which means that we, who think we're paying for the NHS and for the police force and for the pavement on our roads and all of that stuff, have actually just been doling out all our money to the creators of GTA.
Yeah.
And... oh, we're in such a weird state. I don't understand how that can happen.
Yeah, it is certainly something.
And then people are like, oh, video games. That means that all the people complaining about video games and saying they cause violence have actually been funding them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's kind of ironic.
Because obviously, Grand Theft Auto is a big one that people look at. Grand Theft Auto and then stuff like Call of Duty and Battlefield and all the shooters are the big ones that people look at when they say, video games cause violence. So, yeah.
Oh, you know what really causes violence? Upbringing.
What? Yes.
If, for example, look at America and look at the amount of racism in America and look at how drastically the racism in America increases as you get to, closer to the south of America.
Mm-hmm.
It's a societal issue that I'm not going to say we don't have racists in England, because we do, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not near as bad as it is in America.
No.
I think one of my favorite things in history, I took history GCSE. Did you take history GCSE or did you take geography?
I took computer science.
Oh, I took computer science as well, though. We were in the same class.
Yeah, it was going off again, but it was you could choose either history, geography, or computer science.
Oh.
And then there were also like the secondary ones, of which I took art and DTRM.
Ah, you had DTRM. That's the difference. I think I had history when you had DTRM.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was going to talk about was one of my favorite subjects to learn about in history was how racism advanced. I say it's one of my favorite. It was just interesting. I didn't laugh and go racists.
Racism.
But during
9/11.
the First World War and the Second World War, in fact, England was very, very predominantly white. There were a way more white people than people of other colours.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point where American soldiers would stop off at England on the way to go somewhere, or they would be positioned there to back up England in case they got invaded or whatever. And loads of English people around had never really seen black people before. So it was a huge difference in culture. But one of the things we learnt about was that it basically kick-started the American I was going to say the American Revolution, that's something else. It kick-started the rights activists for black people, because they came to England where we had no segregation laws and people would talk to them and they could go to clubs and dance and drink and stuff. And then they went back to America and went, hang on, why aren't we allowed to do that? And that was one of the huge differences. But then later on, all of the white Americans also came to England and started enforcing their racist laws on England and basically made us racist.
So America's the problem.
Yeah, basically. But
as if we didn't know that already.
Because America is a cesspit of uneducated rednecks.
Okay.
That's gonna backlash if I ever try and become a politician.
That is a bold statement right there.
I'm never coming back from this.
This is the pit.
I was gonna make a follow-up statement, but I can't remember what it was.
You've dug yourself a hole there. Good job.
Oh, but there's been so much stuff that proves that there are a lot of uneducated people that don't know what they're talking about. I can't remember what it's called. You know, the in Aladdin, they live in obviously a made-up country. I can't remember what it's called. Hang on. Aladdin. Is it the city or is it the country? I can't remember. Apparently, Aladdin City is in Dubai. That's a real place. That's not what I'm looking for.
Fair enough. Wait, Dubai is a city.
Well, I looked up Aladdin City and it
Right?
came up with Aladdin City, Dubai.
Huh.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
called
know.
Agrabah. The city in Aladdin is called Agrabah.
There.
Is what I was trying to find out. Anyway, 100 Trump supporters were asked in a questionnaire if they supported Trump's decision to bomb Agrabah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 70% of them said it was a good decision, not knowing that Agrabah was the fictional city in Aladdin. So they just went, oh, Trump said it, so it must be true. I don't know why I went a bit northern there.
I'm from Yorkshire, but I think that Trump's doing the right thing.
I'm a Yorkshire American. I'm a New Yorkshire.
New Yorkshire.
But yeah, people just don't really know what they're talking about. And it's like, I think it was, this is going to be spurious. I don't remember who exactly the woman was. I think she was one of Trump's members of office, but I don't know American politics, so I don't even know if that's a thing. Anyway, there was a woman that told a Native American man, a Native American politician, to go back to his own country. She told him to go back to India. It's like he should have turned around and said, actually, you go back to yours. Because at the end of the day, his people have been around in America a whole lot longer than American people.
Yeah.
And just people are so uneducated. We've gone way off the subject of video games cause violence, but I think we're getting down to the root of the problem. That is, people are uneducated. Which is, yeah, well, America. And the fact that a lot of the people in America are heavily uneducated on the stems and roots of the issues that they're talking about.
America, or more just the US.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, South America and stuff probably isn't.
Canada.
And Canada. But Canada's not in America, is it? Canada's
in the American continent.
Oh, I did not actually know that.
That's why you got North America, which is literally like the US and Canada. I think. Don't quote me on that. I didn't take geography.
No, me neither.
As aforementioned.
But then, South America's got problems of its own.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into that, though.
That is another rabbit hole that I daren't not look in.
But video games,
Back on
sure,
subject.
There are some bad video games, and there are violent video games. But video games as a whole are a very positive thing. I mean, when you look at the amount of people that have had their lives literally changed by video games, I can say personally that if I didn't have video games, I would be a completely different person to what I am
definitely.
now. And I don't necessarily know that I would be a better person without video games.
Yeah. Like, video games are, even before I came to uni, has been such a big thing. And even more so now. Not just because of my course, but because of all the stuff I do now. Like, I'm big into cosplay and I do cosplays for stuff like Rainbow Six Siege. And the community behind the Rainbow Six Siege cosplay is amazing.
Yeah.
And like it all comes back down to video games. It's like, if we get rid of that, it's just, yeah.
It's, at the end of the day, getting rid of video games is removing an entire culture. Like it is so ingrained in who we are at this point, because my first video game was probably Lego Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
And that came out in like 2005. That came out nearly 15 years ago.
My first video game was, I think, Medieval, but I saw recently one of the biggest games of my childhood, Ratchet and Clank, came out 17 years ago as of like 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, early November 2002. And obviously I wasn't playing it back then, because I was 2. But, it's like, that game was my childhood, and video games, like, have sculpted my life, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't really know how else to elaborate on that. They have made us who we are. And I think you could say that.
I've got people.
All right. It's fine. I will actually do an edit cut in one of these podcasts. Amazing. And we're back.
Hey.
What I was saying was, with our generation, we're Gen Z. We're just about Gen Z by a couple of years. But you'll be hard-pressed to find a Gen Zer who hasn't played a video game or didn't play any video games when they were young, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've got boomers and you know, old people that are the ones saying that video games are the issue.
Yeah.
And you've got everybody that plays video games and was brought up on video games that goes, well, actually, I play these and they're clearly not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the okay boomer meme.
It is.
I was going to say something else about boomers, but I've forgotten what it was. Oh, no, I remember what it was. I reckon the real reason that they have a problem with us playing video games and everything is that they're just jealous that they weren't brought up on them.
Yeah.
They wish they had video games growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how boring life must have been. Like, let's go outside. And now what do we do?
I mean, I guess that's what people hate. It's like, oh, blah, 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 you have to have all these machines that make fun, whereas we made our own fun. Yeah.
We went outside and made our own fun, and we were bloody bored. It's like, this is going off on a tangent again, but Rhett and Link have been making a series recently. I think they've done 3 videos on it now, where they've gone back to their old city that they were raised in, and they're reminiscing, they're talking about the things that they used to do, and they're going through. And they end a video, their first video, with them in the middle of a road on a couple of bikes going, well, what do we do now? Like, they were talking about how all the stuff they would do, they got up to mischief and they broke rules and they did stuff that they're not supposed to do. And their reason wasn't that they were bad kids. It was because they were bored.
Yeah.
And, like, if anything, we are less likely to commit crimes and do things we're not supposed to be doing because we have something. Yeah. We have this thing that is keeping us entertained and keeping us off the streets. I wouldn't want to go out at night time because I'm scared of getting shanked. It's such this weird, like, generational distortment. And my granddad lives with me at the moment, as you probably already know, because he's old and he can't really look after himself anymore.
Yeah.
And he always looks at the past in rose-tinted glasses, you know? He looks at everything like everything was so much better in the past when it really wasn't. And he one of the points he loves to bring up is when he was a kid, they all carried knives, and the only one person that got cut was yourself if you accidentally cut yourself while carving something, or, you know, something along those lines. Nobody got stabbed by other people, blah, 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 blah. But when he was a kid, there was quite literally a war on.
Yeah.
Like people were getting stabbed and shot on a daily basis all over the world. And just because he lived in the countryside meant that he didn't see any of it. And you went into any major city, you go to London or Portsmouth or Southampton or anywhere
Or
during the
Nottingham.
World War, or Nottingham, anywhere during the World War that is a city, and it was rife with crime because they had rationing and they had, limited food. There were food shortages, all of that stuff. So people were stealing everything they could to get food. So saying that there was no crime back then and kids had more freedom and blah blah blah. Sure, kids had more freedom and people were less worried about letting their kids run free. But the reason people are scared of letting their kids run free without supervision now is because of the stuff that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And that then warps their view and goes, oh, kids are staying indoors and playing video games and kids are boring now and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but they're also not getting stabbed or mugged or bullied or, and they're enjoying themselves. And, oh, kids nowadays are snowflakes and everybody gets offended.
About
and
that, I have a massive retort to that. You know what? We, like, our generation and all that are apparently like this. It's because we were raised that way by who? The boomers.
People blame us for being the way we are when we were raised that way. Like, oh, millennials are lazy is what I meant to say.
What?
Millennials are Leslie.
Leslie Tiller was fucking murdered.
It's like that.
Anyway,
there was an article. I don't know if I still have the photo of it saved. I think I sent it to someone so I can check. But it was an article that was like mocking millennials. It was saying millennials are taking adulting classes to learn basic things like sewing a button and stuff. And
because they weren't taught it.
Yeah.
By who?
I think it was replied to by one of the Game Grumps. I'm trying to look for the picture now. But basically he said there was a typo in your article, so I thought I'd correct it. And he wrote, millennials are taking classes that they weren't taught by the older generations. I want to find the exact post because it's worded much better than I worded that. But
it's the same principle.
Yeah. And it's just this. I have another picture that also works that I don't know if I saved. I have the other picture that I'm about to mention. Baby boomers did that thing where you leave a single square of toilet paper on the roll and pretend it's not your turn to change it, but with a whole society.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just get blamed for being raised by the people that raised us.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a weird thing because at the end of the day, it's not our responsibility to fix the world as children. Like, we're children. And then you've got all those boomers. So the boomers will call us lazy and say we're not doing anything to make change ourselves, blah, 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 blah. But then you have Greta Thunberg, who is doing something to change the world, and she's trying to make a difference, and she's doing everything she can. She's traveling the world. She's 16 years old, and the boomers will bully her and take the mick out of her. It's like, what do you want from us?
Yeah, it's going back to people want a scapegoat. People don't want to be the one to blame.
Yeah. I'm never at fault, so it must be the past generations.
It must be the future generation that it's their world and are trying to fix it, but it's not us. We swear.
Then this is another thing that's slightly off topic, but older generations...
What isn't off topic now?
Yeah, older generations love to influence our politics and then not let the younger generations have any influence on the politics. And the subject I'm going to bring up now is Brexit.
Yes.
And
Here we go. Here's the big one.
First of all, the entire premise of Brexit was built on a lie. And that is evident even to people that voted Brexit now by the fact that the costs of Brexit and the impacts of Brexit are like 1,000,000 times worse than what people thought it was going to be. People thought that Brexit was going to help fund the NHS and all of that stuff. And all it's done is take money away from all the things that they wanted to be funding.
Yeah.
And the real kicker is the fact that an 80-year-old has a right to vote over when he's got less than 16 years left on his life, whereas a 16-year-old who has the rest of his life isn't allowed to vote. Someone that's been alive longer than the amount of time that someone has left on their life isn't allowed to vote. It's so basically, all these old people have thrown our country into a thing that is going to impact our generation for the rest of their lives, and they're not even going to see it come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people that voted Brexit do you think are going to be dead before Brexit happens?
At this rate...
It's probably going to be a lot.
At this rate that it's going, quite a few.
Yeah. And Brexit's just getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed.
Mm.
And it's just like, it's the equivalent of everybody goes, oh, let's put on a movie. What movie shall we watch? And then one person goes, I want this movie. And everybody's like, yeah, all right, we'll watch that movie then. And nobody else really wants to watch that movie, but, you know, they do it anyway because that guy really wants to watch that movie. Yeah. And then he gets up and leaves halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
That's the equivalent of old people voting on Brexit.
You're not wrong.
At least we have... I posted this picture in my Discord. I don't know if I sent it to you. There's a Greenpeace member of parliament that is grounded enough that when she was heckled by a national MP during her speech on the zero carbon bill, she backfired with, okay, boomer. I love that. We've actually got an MP that is like young enough to be able to come to retort with that quip, first of all.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people in our government that are like really old and have really outdated views.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a whole politics, English politics in its current state is a mess.
Yeah.
And that cannot be denied. And sure, people will be like, oh, American politics is a huge problem. We have Trump as our president and blah, blah, blah. But at least Trump got voted in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've now had 2 prime ministers in a row that got their position without being voted for.
Yeah.
Which, democracy is screwed. I almost just fell off my chair. I leant back and it was in recliner mode. The thing wasn't clipped, so my chair just went back.
Fair. That is...
And I almost fell off. Oh, video games, man.
They
You know what?
What?
We should have a vetting stage before you're even allowed to apply to become a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And that vetting stage should be you have to have at least 100 hours in City Skylines. You're not allowed to even look at the role of a politician if you haven't taken classes for it and, you know, just all of that stuff. And then the other issue you have is the reason we have no lower class or lower middle class politicians is that to even run for the position, you have to put down a payment.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to afford to run for like the role before you can even run for it, and then you don't even have a guarantee of getting that position. So you have to have some spare money on hand.
Yeah.
Which is why you don't have anyone like me or you doing it.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Not that I think I would get anywhere if it was free.
Oh, no. Definitely not.
Could you imagine me up on the stands being like, video games don't cause violence? That's my whole campaign.
I could imagine you doing it because I know you and I know you'd fucking try.
I'd get very passionate about something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a stupid thing. I think it was Alex Smith that I think he might have been talking about a book concept or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept was that kids are raised to be there are some kids that are selected on birth and raised to be politicians.
Yeah.
So they are raised with completely unbiased views. They are only taught about politics and better ways to improve the government and the economy and stuff. And that's all they're taught growing up. Mm-hmm. So they're basically government robots.
Yeah.
And although it is an interesting concept, and realistically it would work if they were raised completely unbiased, they wouldn't. Not only is it not very ethical to like take children at birth and raise them like that,
yeah, in
our state it wouldn't be unbiased.
Oh no.
Especially
Absolutely
with the fact that the Conservatives have been in power for like the past 20 years odd. Not that long, like 15 years.
Yeah.
Whatever. The Conservatives have been in power for a while. Which means that whatever government is in charge at the time would be the government that chooses. Someone just opened my door. Anyway, whatever government is in charge at the time would be the government that would teach the children the way that they personally think would be the best way. You know?
Yeah.
So I guess you'd have to teach them using a robot that could be perfectly unbiased. But at that point, you might as well just have a robot rule the government.
Yeah. The world we live in.
Yeah. We're getting really in that's like ultimate dystopian future at that point.
And we're getting real off topic. But it's too late now.
Yeah. I think this is probably a good point to end it. We've been going for like 40 odd minutes. That's an alright amount of time.
Of an hour.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked about video games and then we've gone off topic and mansplained white governments.
Yes.
Everybody wants to listen to straight white males rant. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thank you for watching this, and thank you for joining me, George.
You're welcome.
If you were down for it, next month I will possibly get you in again, and I might see if I can get someone else in, like Steven or someone.
We can
because I feel like more voices will be better at padding, and also will be better for going off topic.
Because I'm not good at steering conversations.
Yeah. Me neither. As shown by this podcast.
Indeed.
But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out.
See ya.